Well, welcome to Focus Today, and boy, we got a great program put together for you today with some really terrific guests, and I'm delighted to have with us now Ben Barrack. He is the investigative reporter, a radio host, a blogger, who broadcasts in Central Texas. We'll forgive him for that, but that's okay. He also appears with articles in Human Events, Big Government, WorldNet Daily. Perhaps you've picked up quite a few of his blogs and his articles, and what a delight to have you, Ben. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Perry. How are you doing?
Good. Is it hot down there?
Always. Never stops. Even when it's cold, it's hot.
Oh, there you go. Well, come on up here. We'll help you catch a big salmon and cool you down.
Oh, nice.
Hey, listen, lots to talk to you about today, the short time that we have together, and let's take a quick snapshot of things. Do you think that as we head into this election cycle, it's the Republicans' race to lose?
Absolutely. You know, we should have the conservatives, Tea Party, the Republican candidate, whoever, should be blowing this race wide open. There should be 15, 17, 20 percentage points ahead, but it's the typical conservative, play it safe mentality that drives a lot of us nuts sometimes.
Yeah. So is that the result of the what we would probably call the traditional Republican or the established Republican against what would be considered the Tea Party Republican? Absolutely.
One of my pet peeves has been, and I don't know if you followed it much, but I followed the Fast and Furious scandal very closely. Mm-hmm. And, I'm standing there looking at Mitt Romney get attacked for not releasing his income taxes and being called secretive and a possible felon, when logically it's very easy for him to say, wait a minute, Mr. President. You want to talk about secretive? You want to talk about, possible felonies? Let's talk about the potential of a mass murder conspiracy coming out of your administration in which the Congress has held your Attorney General in criminal contempt of Congress. But that's a typical example of how the establishment it just refuses to fight. And we're out here, the conservatives, Christians are out here. We are begging them to fight. It's time to fight. There's nothing wrong with standing on your principles and fighting this stuff.
All right. Now, so why hasn't the Republicans capitalized on this? I mean, in 10, you saw the Tea Party Republican come in and make John Boehner Speaker of the House. Has he managed that kind of majority well, or is he just kind of forfeiting some opportunities?
You know, that is such a great question, because John Boehner, the enigma that is John Boehner, has long bothered me. You had him win, get reelected in 2010. What did he do? Well, he cried at his victory speech. He went on 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl and cried because he didn't want to talk about the future of the kids and the grandkids. And he's crying as if we were witnessing his fight or flight response, I believe, at that time. But we really didn't know. But subsequent to that, what we have seen him all but punt on the Fast and Furious scandal. If your viewers remember, he scheduled the contempt vote the same day as the Obamacare ruling in the Supreme Court. Now we have, just this week, Michelle Bachmann, who, as you're very familiar with, Michelle Bachmann has basically gone to the mat, decided to go to the mat over, hey, let's investigate the Secretary of State closest aide, Huma Abedin, and her ties to Muslim Brotherhood, which, by the way, I'm here to say are very extensive. And I don't say that lightly. I say it because of how confident I am. We're not talking rock solid. We're talking titanium. But all that to say, John Boehner came out disgracefully last week and defended Huma Abedin. It wasn't as blatant as, say, John McCain, who I thought put on a disgraceful display on the Senate floor. Absolutely disgraceful. John McCain, who calls the Libyan rebels his heroes. John McCain, who wants to arm the Syrian rebels, Muslim Brotherhood. This guy is come down on the side of Muslim Brotherhood, and I think it's time we ask why. And when he goes on the floor and defends Huma Abedin's family, and he defended her family, and I'm here to say that you may decide that you want to defend Huma Abedin, and I can't do that either. But if you're going to defend her family, you're on very shaky ground. John McCain is coming precariously close to finding himself on the wrong side of history in a very big way. And he needs to rethink what he's doing and what he's saying, because this is very, very serious.
So why isn't there a pushback in Congress by these newly elected Tea Party types against the Speaker on this kind of action and John McCain? I mean, if Michelle Bachmann is going to be thrown under the bus at this level, then what's next, and how in the world are we going to pull this election out?
Well, I think there are some good signs. In addition to Bachmann, you have Louis Gohmert down here in Texas, who is just, he's flat out awesome. He's standing up. Lynn Westmoreland out in Georgia. What's the other? Trent Franks in Arizona, and there's one other guy out of Florida that are standing up. Just this morning, I saw that Newt Gingrich is defending Michelle Bachmann in a video on Politico. But interestingly enough, Perry, you talk about the Tea Party and the 2010 elections. One of the guys who has been a Tea Party darling for his ability to orate and his ability to make arguments, and the fact that he's a minority, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is defending Hum Abedin. He's going after Michelle Bachmann. So it's not just there is an establishment mentality. There's an establishment culture there that is co-opting even people that we send there, and that they make a promise and that they pledge to stick to Tea Party principles. There still are people out there like that. But it's disappointing to see somebody like Marco Rubio come out and go after Michelle Bachmann. But I think that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, excuse me. I'm sorry, Ben. What concerns me now is that if Romney, who's already perceived to be a moderate, doesn't select somebody that's genuine conservative, then you can almost kiss this thing off, because there are people like yourself, thousands just like yourself, and us out here on the West who are saying, hey, wait a minute, we got to turn this thing around, and we need some really staunch conservatives to do it. Yeah,
Mitt Romney is, I believe, all signs are pointing to him getting ready to choose a mini Mitt, as you will, and another establishment guy. And it's almost like the dog with the bone in his mouth that sees his reflection across the bridge into the water and decides that, hey, that's another dog. I'm going to try to get that other bone. And in so doing, he loses the one that's in his mouth. That's what Mitt Romney strikes me as somebody who might be like, because what he's doing and what the establishment is doing is that they're counting on the anti-Obama sentiment being so strong that it doesn't matter what Mitt Romney does. And I've been maintaining for quite some time now, Romney has not earned my vote. Romney's not earned my vote. See, what Republicans and conservatives tend to do is they say, well, he is the best I got, let's get behind him. Well, hang on. Instead of getting behind him, let's drag him to the right. Let's not let him shake that Etch-a-Sketch. Right. Let's hold him accountable to what he is supposed to do as a Republican. And frankly, I'm more interested in just filling the Senate, filling the House with as many conservatives as possible.
Well, we're going to have to do that if we're going to hold Mitt Romney to his feet to the fire if he gets elected. I don't know why the establishment doesn't read the obvious numbers. When I was chairman of the state of Oregon for 4 years, we moved it to the right. We had the largest increase in conservative voter registration in the history of the party. And then it goes back to the center, to the establishment. All of that's gone away. We can't win elections. I mean, when are we going to get the picture here?
Well, I think one of the things the establishment did right is they picked their horse early in the primary. Excuse me. They picked their horse early in the primary, and the Tea Party didn't. The Tea Party put up Newt Gingrich. The Tea Party put up Rick Perry. The Tea Party put up Rick Santorum. The Tea Party put up Herman Cain, Michelle Bachmann, and some may argue Ron Paul, but that's another story. Yeah. And it split the vote. And we split our own vote is what happened. I guarantee you, if you would have put Mitt Romney up against either one of those people, it would have been a landslide for the conservatives. It's just that I'm sorry about this. I'm going to have to, I don't know how I'm going to disconnect this. But anyway, we're going to have to, we're going to have to, at some point, I think down the road, decide to pick a horse and get behind that horse. And, I don't know. We got a Senate race down here in Texas. Ted Cruz in a runoff against David Dewhurst. Ted Cruz is the Tea Party conservative guy. David Dewhurst is the lieutenant governor, the establishment guy, and Ted Cruz is looking stronger and stronger, despite the money, despite the attacks that are coming at him by Dewhurst that I believe are unfounded.
All right, so that kind of grassroots movement, Ben, doesn't that give you some encouragement? Because in spite of what the establishment's doing and even the polls are saying, there's an undercurrent here that could result in another 2010 turnover.
Absolutely. You know as well as I do, Perry, God works in mysterious ways. We don't know what's in store, but we shouldn't compromise. I think what we need to do is we need to get as many conservative. You know, and look at it. Let me just one example. I mentioned Fast and Furious earlier. This scandal implicates potentially Hillary Clinton. It implicates Janet Napolitano. It implicates Eric Holder and possibly Barack Obama, based on the fact that he has asserted executive privilege. If Mitt Romney were to win, what's going to happen with all that?
It'll just
my guess is it would go away. Mm-hmm. We have hundreds of dead Mexicans, and we've got a congressional Hispanic caucus that isn't saying anything about Eric Holder or anything to these guys. If Mitt Romney wins, I believe that whole thing goes away. If Barack Obama wins, maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but maybe, just maybe, the conservative sentiment, the political will rise to a level where you're going to have the Republicans in Congress demand accountability. Maybe we will see some things torn out of the ground by the root, this wickedness, this corruption that we see at the highest levels of government. And maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but I don't think we should be fearful.
So how do we get Christians engaged in this thing? They just seem to be just on the sidelines going ho-hum, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's doing things like what you're doing, Perry. I think it's dragging people to the truth. We've got dire scenarios taking place right now, right under our noses. And if you look at the top videos on YouTube, they're about an alligator being swallowed by a snake or something. I mean, these are the things that people are looking at, and I think what we need to do is just continue to do what you're doing, to speak it. You know, when we're in public settings, sometimes people are a little bit apprehensive about speaking and engaging in politics. But don't get engaged in political discussions. I don't want to talk about it. You know what? I'm so far beyond that. I'm so far past that. We stand by and we watch these liberals, these leftists, these Marxists, communists, socialists, and in some case Islamists. We've got Muslim Brotherhood in influence in this government, and make no mistake about that. That's happening. You know, you look at the Bill. I'm sorry, I keep getting off track here. You look at the Bill Clinton administration. Abdurrahman al-Amoudi was a guy, a Muslim who held a position of Muslim affairs in our State Department under the Clinton administration. In 2003, he was convicted of terrorism and is serving a 23-year prison sentence. We have got to educate people on this stuff. Yeah. We have got to continue to keep pressing, to pray, to continue to press the truth.
Ben, do you think that if there is a continued turnover in Congress, both in the House and Senate, but primarily the House, if more Tea Party or type Republicans get elected, that John Boehner is a one-term speaker?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I would suggest, Darrell Issa might be a good replacement for him. But there needs to be, I'm with you on that. I think there needs to be a groundswell support, a groundswell effort. We need to push this. Boehner needs to get out of the speaker's chair. He does not have the mettle for it, and he's shown it to us. He's shown it to us with his tears.
Okay. Hey, thanks, man. Where can people get more of your blog and your information?
Oh, well, if you go to shoebat.com, SHOEBAT.com, there is an incredibly damaging piece to this Huma Abedin scandal. 37-page bombshell. I encourage everybody to go to that and check that out.
Shoebot.com. Hey, thank you, Ben. God bless you, pal. Keep up the good work. We'll have you back soon.
You too, Perry.